You're listening to the Longer Haul Youth Ministry Podcast with Jody Livingston and Chris Trent, episode number 78.
Back in place, and I'm all up in your face.
Welcome to the Longer Haul Youth Ministry Podcast, helping you survive and thrive in youth ministry. And now, your hosts, Jody Livingston and Chris Trent.
Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to the show. I think, if this student ministry thing doesn't work out, you've got this side career. I mean, you could do the magician thing, but you could also do like a cover band.
Can you name the song?
No, mainly because I don't know what day it is or time it is.
His child. You can't name that song. For real?
Not today.
Dude,
what is it?
Wendy Trent, can you name that song? She's walking through. No. Wendy said hammer time.
Maybe if I heard the real version.
No, it's Jesus Freak, bruh. The rap part of Jesus Freak, right? No, it's not. No, it's another part of DC Talk. What is it? It's like a DC Talk song. I'm almost positive.
You're dating yourself.
Well, whatever, dude. DC Talk, man. They're going to
rule
the world at some point.
No, they're not. Welcome to the show today. We're back. It's been a bit. So if you are listening to this in real time, it's been quite a while. Mainly because we've had a whole lot of things going on. And we're going to update you on that today. We do want to welcome you, though. If you're just joining the show for the first time and you're like, what the heck is happening? I would like to tell you that's not normal, but unfortunately, that's pretty normal for Chris. So we're glad you're here checking out the show. If you are a listener, a member of the Super Secret Podcast group, perhaps, welcome. We're glad you're here. I don't know that we'll have links and resources in this episode. We may, and if we do, they'll be in the show notes page over at thelongerhaul.com/episode 078.
Well, buddy, it has been a little while. You doing all right?
Yeah, I don't know what day it is, and I don't know what time it is.
Yeah.
But
we have been away for a little while, folks. And if you're jumping back in, first of all, thanks for coming back. And there is some reasoning why we've been gone a little while. And thankfully, it's nothing that anything is going wrong or anything. It's just for Jody and I both, we've just been going through some crazy changes related to work. And we're both full-time youth pastors. And so, the podcast thing is something we do on the side, and our lives just got nuts. It started with you, and I think I probably caught it from you.
It's my fault. It's like a cold, like a bad cold.
And so it started going down with you, and then that eventually led, to some crazy in my world as well, where I work. And so we just thought we would give everybody kind of an end of the year quick update. So we'll jump into that in a minute. Before we do, though, we have to give a shout out and acknowledge our amazing sponsors who have stuck with us even though we've not recorded in like 3 weeks, right?
Right.
So, or 4 weeks or whatever. So YM360, those guys do a phenomenal job. As a matter of fact, I just was talking to Roger Davis just the other day, man. Great guy, great group of people. I ran into him at the National Youth Worker Convention as well. And just phenomenal guys. They all love students. They all work with students, and they have resources galore. So if you need a DNOW curriculum, if you need Sunday morning or just a Bible study curriculum, if you need a great option for camp, Generate Camp through YM360. They just do a little bit of everything, and I would just really recommend you take a look at their stuff. So good times, man. I love those guys. So and big time thanks to them for just helping us with the cost of putting this thing on. So it's good.
Indeed. We do appreciate those guys. We were looking at some of their stuff yesterday, some of their curriculum and their mission stuff, actually, kind of looking at planning ahead a bit.
Dude, that mission thing is incredible. That mission prep thing they do.
Yeah, like
so, like if you're going on, Well, now I was actually thinking about if you're going on a mission trip, they've got this like book. So, like if your kids are going on a mission trip, it's like the like I forget how many weeks.
I think that's what it is. It's like the week before, the week of, and then 2 weeks after, or something like that.
Yeah, that thing's phenomenal, man.
Yeah.
So what I did, I bought that. I used that. I bought it, and I customized it. Like I put a little thing on the front side inside of it for my kids, and told them when to read what days. And dude, it was awesome. Like, it really went great. So it's good stuff.
It's fantastic.
Man. Oh, there's a code too for a discount. What's the code? Do you remember what it was? It's been a while.
Longer haul.
Longer haul. That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, save you 20% on anything. I think we've established not camp.
Yeah, I think we've established that.
But you're free to try.
That's it, man.
Just doesn't mean it'll work. So cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump in. You want to?
Yeah, let's do this thing.
Okay, here we go.
And now we're pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
So if you've been listening the last few episodes, we kind of talked a little bit about stepping away. That kind of came out of me, really, what was going on with me and my life and our ministry. And so we're going to follow up on that because because
the last couple episodes really came out of that as well. When to leave, and we weren't we weren't giving full disclosure as far as like what you were going through at the time, although it probably wasn't like too hard to read into that. That you were, or that at least one of us was going through it, and it was you. So the when to leave, and then also, we followed up. What was that second episode that we did as a follow up?
I don't know, but it was good.
That's funny. But anyway,
no, we did when to leave, and then we did like looking for a position.
Yeah, and so and both of those came out of the fact that you were literally going through all of that at the time, and you were in the process of interviewing and figuring out where you were going to go and what that was going to look like. So, and now you've landed somewhere. But in the midst of all of that, in the midst of you moving, and we'll tell, I kind of like holding this out for a minute because it's nuts where you've moved to. To me,
I'm in Aruba. No,
no, it's Aruba. But in the midst of that, and mine's smaller than yours, so I'll get mine out of the way, and then we'll dig into yours. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure.
I say mine's smaller. It feels ginormous, but as far as impact to my life, but it hasn't been as much of a life impact as yours has. So right before Thanksgiving, our pastor, Bryant Wright, at Johnson Ferry, where I serve, asked us all to stick around for a meeting after our all staff meeting, and which isn't unusual for us. So we all stuck around. The ministerial staff all stuck around, and he let us know that after 35 years, maybe 36 or what, I'm not exactly sure. He's around 65, 66 years old now, that he has sensed that it is officially time for him to start transitioning out of Johnson Ferry. In other words, that we would start looking for his replacement. So he's sort of the founding pastor of the church. And so that was we all kind of anticipated maybe that he would last until the 40th anniversary.
He would last until, that's great.
Well, I don't mean last till. I mean, he's an awesome pastor. I'm a huge fan of this guy. So, great friend, great encourager. But we kind of thought he might that his goal would be to make it to 70 and to be here for the 40th anniversary. And I think that's what he was hoping as well. But I tell you, Jody, it was amazing. And he said this for the church as well. He said that he's just been really praying and trying to sense, what God's vision was for the next step at Johnson Ferry. And he kept coming up blank. Now, he is a strong, strong leader. And to hear him say that was like, wait, what? Like, what are you talking about?
Right.
But he just said, so I started to feel God nudging me that the next thing for me was not some big movement in the church or new strategy in the church or anything like that, or next step, but rather, it was for us to start looking and for him to leave well, and start looking for that next person. And it's fascinating how we're going to do it. It's kind of like a mixture for us of a search committee, and with him being a part of that and a transition team and all that, just because of the size and complexity of what we do. But yeah, man. So that happened. That's not a major deal, right?
Well, that's a pretty big deal.
That's a pretty big deal. Well, that's a major deal. But in terms of my day-to-day lifestyle, that's not, I mean,
Sure.
it does create some questions, and other folks listening probably have been through like a pastor change. Call me, let me know how that goes. What I should be worried about. But it didn't like freak me out or anything. So went to Thanksgiving, did my Thanksgiving break, did the vacation thing and all that, and then Monday, we get back and our student pastor, so we have a student pastor who mostly functions in high school and a high school minister in there as well. And then I'm the middle school pastor, and our student pastor and I are both the ministerial level guys. And so he says, "Hey man, let's go to lunch." Well, Bobby and we've been buddies since like high school. So we've seen enough of each other in this world to not really go to lunch together anymore, really, because we just don't
Right.
hang out like that, We see each other all the time, but like, don't hang out at lunch. So
Did you say, as long as it's Chewy's, we can go?
Yeah, I should have. I went to Chewy's last night, bro.
I know. I appreciate it. Yeah, I
Yeah.
did see the Marco Polo you sent. That's fantastic.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. So that said, I was like, oh no, I've done something stupid.
You're in
Which has
trouble.
happened
You're fired.
before, like, because that's structure, and so I thought maybe he was having to tell me something or somebody else was leaving or something. I didn't know what was going on. And but sure enough, he said, "Hey man, I'm out as well." And it was totally independent of what was happening with our pastor, right? And we're entering into a ridiculously busy time of year at Johnson Ferry in our student ministry. And so so all that to say, and it's a great gig for him. He's going to go over to Samford University over in Birmingham, Alabama, and I'm telling everybody his business. He don't like that kind of stuff, but that's what you get for leaving me there, bro. So he went to he's going over there to be like a campus minister, which is going to be a great gig for him, and he's going to be super amazing at it. And so it was that weird moment though, as my friend, I was like super excited, but I was also like, oh no, things just got really, really complicated. And so for me, man, this is the Monday after Thanksgiving, Jody. And so in this culture, the first question that comes to my mind was, well, who's going to take over? And so I've been here for 14 years. Bobby's been here for 16 years. And there's nobody else really that has been here quite, or at for that long. And there's nobody else that's ministerial level already. And so we just enter into that question. And so it was just like it's been like 3 weeks of.
Yeah. And the best part about this is like you and we couldn't even really talk about it.
Oh yeah. Cause you're like
totally out of pocket.
Traveling to this new location that you're in that we'll tell everybody about in a minute. Aruba. Yeah.
I'm recording this from the beach right now.
Yeah. You were, and cell phones obviously don't work on the road, right?
That's right.
So, yeah. So no. And so like we just entered into this time. So all that to say, it also was a little bit complicated because our pastor has just announced that he's finding, or that the team's going to find his replacement. So it just created a little bit of like, oh, what are we going to do? And so all that to say, and I don't need to go into super details because that's kind of internal type stuff, but all that to say, I was given and asked to take over the student ministry leadership position. But there's a little bit of an asterisk there because of the fact that we eventually will have a new pastor. And so Bryant really wants that guy to have that opportunity to decide whether or not I'll be long-term or not, and I'm optimistic about that. And, and so that's not terribly discouraging or anything, but it's more of a courtesy to him just to say, hey, and I kind of like that anyway, because if he gets here and he likes me and that's good. And I'm his guy. So, okay, that's great, but all that to say, the good news though, Jody, for me, and I know you kind of know this, I'm really saying this for listeners, is I get to do it, but I get to stay in middle school ministry.
Yeah.
And keep doing that. And so really what it means is I'll provide overall kind of direction or whatever, not really direction, because we've got an amazing high school pastor that's stepping up and taking over some of the big things Bobby did. But I just oversee all that, and I'm responsible for budgeting and personnel decisions and all that type of stuff or whatever. But super pumped about it. But dude, it has been, and the times we have talked, Jody, you can attest to this. It's just been a pretty emotional,
Yeah, for sure.
long few weeks, and
Well,
and
it's
so
that unrest and that unknown, It's like
yeah, and worry
your
too,
rhythm,
because
and your
there's
rhythm,
so
like you've
much.
got this rhythm.
There is no rhythm
and
right
it's
now.
gone.
It's like
yeah.
And so we have, and with that, full disclosure, I mean, we just have a lot of other things going on that we're trying to figure out in our student ministry, and that's all in light of everything else that's going on at Johnson Ferry with the fact that Bryant's leaving. So it's created a lot of crazy, for us. And so I've been pretty busy with all that, but that's that. But in the midst of all of that, you were literally
moving across town.
moving across town. Yeah. Yeah, if the United States is a town. So you literally you ended up landing a gig. Tell everybody about your gig and what you're doing now and what that journey was like.
Yeah, so I'm actually sitting right now in California recording this. So we're like 30 some hours of driving apart, you and I, and 3 hours of time difference, which is already become very interesting caveat to us recording, right? Trying to navigate that. So when I say I don't know what day or time it is, like I'm not exaggerating, like literally last night it's funny. My wife, Sarah, and I, we kind of thought we had starting to adjust pretty well to the time difference. And then we were telling the kids last night, hey guys, you need to get in bed. And they're like, but it's like 6:30. Oh yeah, sorry. We'll double check on that. So I am actually.
Well, you texted me the other day. And I responded with a link to time zone explanations.
Yeah, I figure you just ignore it.
So I was like, dude, it's like 10:30, 10:45 tonight. Leave me alone.
It's probably gonna be more of that. Yeah, but the good part is you can do that to me in the morning.
Yeah,
you just give me right back.
True.
Yeah. So I started this week actually. So been in the office a week trying to figure out which way is up and who's who and who does what. And so I'm also kind of struggling to find that rhythm of my just day to day rhythm, let alone week to week and year to year. And
what's the name of the church? Where did you?
So I'm in. Let's jump into I'm at High Desert Church. I am the high school minister, pastor, whatever, at the Victorville campus, kind of heading up student ministry department.
Yeah, so it's a multi-campus
church. Yeah. And so I'm kind of leading the student ministry department here at the Victorville campus, which is the kind of the broadcasting campus, original whatever campus. I don't know what the proper terminology is for that yet. Yeah, and great team, man, coming along, a great team. Just as far as like the church, the campus, great church, great student ministry team. I'm excited, man. I'm super excited to work with the team I have. Yeah. They've been around a while, so that's helpful for me coming in, trying to navigate and figure out things. And yeah, man, different world, different culture, different everything. But we
yeah, and so what's wild, Jody, was when you left your former church, and you had some great relationships there, and I know you love those folks, and so, but I know that there was a little bit of a moment there, where there was some uncertainty.
Oh, absolutely.
There for a little while,
yeah,
and I don't know that really came through the podcast or not, but I mean, those were some harder days in terms of like, you just didn't really know. And you came close a couple times to landing some gigs and they didn't work out. And it was a pretty hard process there for a little while. And then not only that, you, once you started interviewing with
High Desert
there in California, man, it was like, oh my gosh, it's in California.
Yeah. And so for us, like that came down to a conversation that Sarah and I had, and we kind of mentioned this before, but, all of it came down to a conversation that we had one evening and just said, okay, because we stepped away from the previous church before we knew where we were going. And so I'm not going to rehash that. If you want to listen to that, you can go back and listen to the 2 episodes before this. But, we we didn't know what was next for us. We felt confident it was student ministry, and that was the direction we're pursuing. But we had to decide, okay, are we going to limit this search to like an area or a region? And for us, we just came back and said, look, for 20 years, we've been telling students to put their yes on the table and give the Lord the blank check and see where he lands you. And we kind of been telling our own children that, and we need to model that. And that's really our heart.
Yeah, bro.
So that wasn't something we were just teaching. That was our heart. But when the rubber meets the road and all of a sudden you're having to make those decisions in real life, that's where things really get put to the test. And for us, man, I think the Lord really honored that in so many ways. And we really, and that was honestly it. Like, there were no parameters for us. I mean, obviously we wanted to be in a place that was doctrinally sound, theologically sound, that valued the word, and we lined up, in ministry philosophy and all those things. But as far as church size and budget and location and all of that was really, we were open to whatever. And then the crazy thing is, once the process, at least on my end, started rolling with High Desert, it moved very quickly. And so we ended up, interviewing and then basically like accepting the role like a week later, within a week, a few days of the interview, I think. And then we had to sell our house and move our family across the country. So the house sold.
Yeah, let's talk about the move, because it was amazing. No. There was some good stuff, though. I know the actual getting ready to move and all that.
Yeah.
You were stressed out of your mind, but so your stuff got loaded up in a truck and it
Right.
left, and then you loaded up your family in the minivan and
Two
your
dogs,
dog or
4
dogs,
kids,
2 dogs,
stuff,
4 kids,
whatever we could cram into the van,
and stuff. Right, and you guys start driving across the country. And how many days did you?
We left on a Thursday. We left on Thursday night about 10:30 at night Eastern. Drove and made our first stop in Alabama, and we got here to the High Desert on Wednesday, the following Wednesday. So, and we stopped along the way. So
I love that, and I was watching the whole time. And
it was a blast.
Phenomenal.
It was so much fun. Amazing. If you're curious and you just want to see, I don't know why you'd care, but if you want to, we used the hashtag Livingston's Take the Desert. And so if you go on like Instagram or Facebook, you can see the pictures. We stopped and saw some fun things along the way, and went and saw the Cadillac Ranch.
Amazing.
It was good for the kids. It was great.
Okay, so side note here, listeners, because you guys know our hearts if you're listening, the longer haul, ministry for the longer haul. And I'll tell you one thing that Jody's saying right here that I resonate. One of the reasons why he and I get along so well is because our hearts are similar in this. And that is, this is an adventure, folks, that we get to be on. And I loved the fact that even though everything was changing, and even though your kids, one of them in high school, one of them in middle school, and then all down younger or whatever, they seem to embrace the family. And I'm sure there were moments, but overall, an embracing of the adventure of life. And you took this having to move all the way across the country and you turned it into this great memory. I'm telling you, there's no doubt in my mind, your kids, based on what I saw, your kids are going to remember this 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now.
It was great.
And it helps, I think, when it comes to serving in ministry, it helps experience longevity whenever you can turn it into we're trusting God and it's an adventure. And we're going to just make the best out of this thing. And we're going to even make a hashtag. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like we do, we have our own hashtag, hashtag Trent Family Fun. And so it's just something to hear in the midst of this, is just making the best out of it, man. And trusting that God's going to do something. And it looked to me like God honored.
Oh yeah. Well, and it's crazy. So like,
gave y'all some,
we went from like this uncertainty of what's next, and look, the reality is we've been here, week and a half. So we're still kind of in that uncertainty thing. I'm trying to get settled and figure out where people are and kids trying to make friends and all that stuff. But once we had been praying, really, my wife and I have been praying like, God, just open some doors for us. And at one point we had a ton of open doors, which was great, but overwhelming. And I hope listeners, I hope you know my heart in that. Like, I'm not trying to say like, oh, I had all these things. I'm just saying like God was really honoring that prayer for us to the point that we had to say, okay, now Lord, we don't know which direction to move toward. And so we really started praying, okay, God, we just kind of need you to narrow our focus here and really shut the doors you don't want us to walk through. And because we really took this approach of like, let's go spy out the land and see what's there. And then we'll use some discernment and wisdom and prayer. And,
which is the real reason, by the way, we've not really been recording podcasts, because we've been spending all of our time talking and me just basically providing counsel for you. I'm basically
a lot of prayer and fasting.
I'm just kidding.
But like what
we have to, that's what's crazy. We have talked a ton during this season. But it's just one of those moments when it came to the podcast that we just had to say.
I took the stuff on the road.
We just gotta be,
and we had talked about, man, if we could find a moment or a way.
Yeah, we had the best,
but it was just never going to happen. So, so the crazy thing is, like, when we flew out here for the interview, we had several opportunities that were in front of us. And by the time we left, the only one really left on the table was High Desert. And we felt pretty confident at that moment that this was the direction we were being led anyway. And so we get back and we bust our tails to get the house ready. The house sells literally the day after we put it on the market. There wasn't even a sign in the yard, which we weren't ready for. And that was like Thanksgiving week. So who buys a house Thanksgiving week? And then we had to pack our stuff up. And so most of it's here. We still have some that it's a long story, but got delayed and it's coming tomorrow. But so starting over, man. I'm having to go back and kind of listen to our own podcasts and read some of our own blog stuff and and teach myself.
That's amazing.
It's cool. I tell you, I've just been so reminded of just God's faithfulness and really, which is cool. I think one of the other things that happened that was really interesting and kind of timely is, we had Todd Jones on a few episodes back to talk about his book, Jesus Colored Glasses and Identity, right? And so, man, stepping out of a position and then not having a position immediately. And so having some, pretty good amount of time there, a couple months maybe, where my normal rhythm and routine of pastor and title of pastor, if you will, was gone, was really, it was good for me to kind of wrestle through a lot of that identity stuff. Like, okay, if I'm not a student pastor at the moment, right, where does my identity rest? It was just good, man. It was good and healthy. And God's been so faithful. And it sounds all rosy and easy right now because we're just kind of giving like the 30,000.
Dude, it wasn't.
It was not.
Like, let's be real transparent. Like, there were a lot of phone calls, Jody, where I felt like I was talking off the ledge. And to be fair, there's been those with me as well. We're friends like that. Another key to longevity, find someone.
Yeah, I mean, it was that person,
right?
It was difficult.
I mean, there were moments there where, dude, it was like, and you would just text me and you'd be like, I'm hitting the wall, like I'm just, But again, God honored it, and there you are, man.
Yeah,
California.
I'm grateful.
I can't wait. I'm trying to figure out a way to get out
Disney
there.
Disney out here too,
So
it's not
I know
far.
you do have Disney.
Star Wars Land is about to open.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So
it is.
So big days ahead, man. I'm excited about what's coming and kind of just learning and growing and learning from others and new experience and new culture and new ways of doing things. I think it's going to benefit the podcast as well as we're bringing new
Yeah.
stuff in.
which is back and not going anywhere. That's one of the things
Right.
we wanted to say in the podcast, even though it may seem on the surface, oh boy, well, they've become one of those podcasts. They did it for a while and now they're just kind of dropping off the map. Nope, we're not. We're coming back strong in January, but it will be January.
Yeah, we're not going
Let's
to try
be
to record
super
over
honest. It'll be
Christmas.
early January. Yeah, we're not going to do it over Christmas, but early January. We've already got some folks lined up to do some stuff, and looking forward to pressing on, finding that rhythm, and just continuing to try to invest in folks and talk youth ministry with folks. The podcast Facebook group is already that. I just it's a great resource, a smaller venue for folks to ask questions, and it's already becoming that. And so it's good, man. But we're coming back strong in January and plan to keep doing this. Jody being across the country doesn't change anything. And technically I'm across the country from him. Because we really never record in the same room anyway. I'm typically in my living room and you're in what used to be your living room. And that's what we're doing today even, so we're going to keep doing this thing. And so keep listening, folks, please. And
absolutely. Jump into the podcast group if you haven't already, over on Facebook. It's a great way to stay connected with folks. I think there's a couple hundred people in there now. It's just great. And, keep up there. We're always doing some giveaways in that group. We're about to do another actually, that we're doing. So fun stuff there. And then,
we are at 169 members right
there you
now.
go. And folks joining like almost every day, which is pretty cool. So big things ahead. Stick around. We'll be back in January with some brand new stuff, content, great interviews coming up. And man, we're grateful. Thanks for listening.
Good stuff. Don't forget to check out YM360, our amazing sponsors that helps us out. And there is cost involved in doing this thing, and they help knock some of that out. So, and we big time appreciate that. And so check out YM360, Youth Ministry 360.
Yep, YM360.com. Use the longer haul to save your 20% off maybe camp, but everything else for sure.
Yep, just longer haul, and it'll be a discount. And good times. Well, awesome, man. Well, thanks for hanging out again, Jody. And congratulations on your gig there in California.
Thanks, thank you, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys in January.
Thanks for listening to the Longer Haul Youth Ministry Podcast at www.thelongerhaul.com.